Europe, Nile and Early-Modern Humans. We present this next article, but involve several other articles, because the scope of this video is global. Nile behavior and late Paleolithic humans in Upper Egypt during the late Pleistocene. Pierre M. Vermeersch, Wim van Neer, 2015. The reconstruction of the environment and the human population history of the Nile Valley during the late Pleistocene have received a lot of attention in the literature thus far. There seems to be a consensus that during MIS2, 32,000 to 17,000 years ago, extreme dry conditions prevailed over northeastern Africa, which was apparently not occupied by humans. The Nile Valley seems to be an exception. Numerous field data have been collected suggesting an important population density in Upper Egypt during MIS2, 32,000 to 17,000 years ago. The occupation remains are often stratified in, or at least related to, Aeolian and Nile deposits at some elevation above the present-day floodplain. They are rich in lithics and animal bones, mainly fish. The late Paleolithic or later Paleolithic, also known as the Upper Paleolithic, generally spans from around 50,000 to 40,000 to about 10,000 years ago, is clearly dominantly Ice Age, and also includes the 14,000 YA Ice Age events regarding the Nile in Egypt as well as across the world. MIS2, 32 to 17,000 years ago, peaking during the LGM. The late Paleolithic is roughly defined by marine isotope stage 2. MIS2, which spans from approximately 32,000 to 17,000 years before present, peaking during the last glacial maximum OR LGM. This cold, dry period was characterized by extensive continental ice sheets, significantly lower global sea levels, and a global sea level drop of about 130 meters, and a dramatic decrease in global temperatures. MIS2, EMH first in Europe, Aurignacian-Culture, Ranis, Boccaccio. This stage corresponds with the late Paleolithic, a time when anatomically modern humans or early modern humans or EMH had already arrived in Europe and adapted to the harsh conditions at the time. Late Paleolithic human adaptations. Mosaic landscapes. Human activity occurred within mosaics of periglacial landscapes, such as tundra-like shrub areas and periglacial steppes, with cold-adapted animals dominating. Regional variation. Human societies developed distinct regional variations and adaptations during MIS2, with archaeological sites providing valuable insights into their cultures and subsistence strategies. Nile Valley exceptions. The Nile Valley also is noted as a key region for understanding human adaptation, as it supported human occupation during the dry conditions of MIS2, contrasting with other areas of North Africa. Debate snacks against pseudo-science. All this seems to present a high degree of anthropogenicity or human impact even on or in the landscapes. Early modern humans were present in parts of Europe related to Gibraltar, and unrelated to and most far away from Africa, and highly associated with Neanderthals, that just as the early modern humans of the Aurignacian culture are not related to Africa, certainly not to sub-Saharan Africa. This clearly challenges out of Africa and Neanderthals being mere hunter-gatherers, including also these early modern humans being mere hunter-gatherers, and not industrial cultures. All these are indications of anthropogenic and industrial elements and associations between humans and Neanderthals that should not be there, especially so since they provingly did not interbreed, and the very scarce unproven interbred early modern humans, like 13 individuals in Ranis in Germany and one proven individual in Boccaccio in Bulgaria, all went extinct. This so if there had been no civilizations, no cultures, and only two groups of contemporary hunter-gatherers. This is not only clearly before the Holocene, it is deep in the latest Ice Age, roughly 50,000 years ago, and in fact unfolding at a time that out of Africa should have been unfolding close to the land bridge between Africa and the rest of the world, but there are no indications in favor of out of Africa. Mummies and genetics show through genetics that the Green-Sahara and North Africa were not a corridor between sub-Saharan Africa and the rest of the world, but rather a barrier between them. Instead, mummies and genetics show that there was a clear corridor from West Africa to the Nile and beyond. Improbable industry in Europe 45 to 42,000 years ago. Linkombian Ranisian Jersmanawishan. LRJ. Technology refers to a complex of stone tools created by early Homo sapiens or EHM in northwestern Europe between 45,000 and 42,000 years ago, contemporary with the Aurignacian culture. Discovered in locations such as the Ranis Caves, Germany, LRJ tools are distinctive and were used during a period of harsh climate, confirming that modern humans occupied the region much earlier than previously thought and that they shared technologies and cultural practices, coexisting with Neanderthals. All indications of a far-reaching and advanced culture or civilization, with clear classes or castes, clearly not dependent, or rather independent from the much-touted convenient land bridge between Africa and the rest of the world. In yet other videos we illustrate and prove that these human activities, culture and/or civilization in Europe, and to a lesser extent the culture and/or civilization in the Nile Delta, clearly depend on and/or interact with the Atlantic facades of Europe, northwestern Europe, the Americas, but also with Asia and beyond. The LRJ culture was named after the discovery of a set of stone tools at sites such as the Ranis Cave in Germany. Genetic studies and DNA analysis confirmed that the LRJ tools were produced by modern humans, or Homo sapiens, refuting previous theories that attributed their creation to Neanderthals. The discovery suggests that modern humans and Neanderthals coexisted and shared technologies and cultural practices in the same region. Dating and established genetic links suggest that a single population or family line may have spanned hundreds of kilometers across Europe, linking the Ranis site to other discoveries in Germany and the United Kingdom. All this is only possible with industries and complex trading, planning and management, things atypical for hunter-gatherers and certainly for Neanderthals. 14,000 years ago the Nile Valley appears to be largely depopulated. The Vermeersch-Vernier 2015 paper reads that at ca 14,000 years ago the Nile Valley appears to be largely depopulated. Repopulation occurs only at 5.5 Ka with the pre-dynastics. 1995 Nile Delta core samples show excessive heavy metals at ca 14,000 years ago and can only be anthropogenic in our and others' opinion. This might explain the depopulation. 14,000 years ago is near or roughly 1,000 years before the Younger Dryas. At the end of a very sharp temperature rise, that occurred roughly between 15,000 and 14,000 years ago, and that we connect to near-continental scale burning of vegetation, and that would kill forests, plants, fauna and megafauna, and that kind of preludes. Or at least precedes the Younger Dryas, and all that is associated with this so-called Younger Dryas, including the extinction of certain human groups and megafauna, etc., so for us that makes sense. In fact, this information and our view could challenge, or put the Younger Dryas meteorite impact hypothesis in question. Repopulation occurs only at 5.5 Ka with the pre-dynastics. 5,500 years ago is near the period of major population turnover events across Europe, Western Eurasia, and more or less from West Africa to the Nile, so that makes even more sense for us. Please comment with your doubts and remarks, as we pretend to complete or to remake this same video, for it to become more useful and or understandable for you and others. We do not pretend to feature popular, nor widely accepted videos, but rather to rewrite parts, especially of human history, that are scientifically proven to be improbable at this point in time. Also ask for more or better illustrations and or proofs, if this would be helpful. Please remember that you should not call yourself an alternative historian or historian, if you do not clarify at least some part of history, or do not add up with a fully scientifically supported history, or with a history without too many paradigms. Like consensus still fails to do so, and most historians, even alternative historians also fail to do so until now. Criticizing or doubting the historical vision or timelines of others, independent if this is consensus or mainstream or none of both, is not exactly being a historian, or at least not a historian that adds up to history. Thank you.